BYU travels down to the desert this week to take on Arizona. I told BYU fans earlier this week, you got to be careful. You got to be on high alert for what can happen. Crazy things can transpire in the desert. They have. Maybe not for a while for the Wildcats. It's been kind of a lifeless program since Jed Fish left. Brent Brennan has a chance to change that. You beat undefeated and ranked BYU. That is a landmark win. What do I always talk about with new coaches? They are looking for that flagship moment, that banner moment. Plant the flag emotionally because, that can get kind of ugly on the field. Look for those sorts of moments throughout the early part of their tenure to let their team, themselves, the fans, the donors, community, everybody know, hey, we got some here. We're okay. Missed opportunity last time out for Arizona when they took on Iowa State. It didn't go very well. Well, Iowa State's a better team. But guess what? You got BYU coming to town, and you got a chance. Now, BYU fans, we have a tradition. We have an arrangement. It's been a pretty fruitful one for the Cougars over the last couple of years. Every time I pick BYU to win and win big, it at least gets scary. Last time I staked my claim in BYU's winning big, they scraped by Colorado and trailed by 2 possessions against a Buffs team we'll talk about a little bit later on in this segment. So, you know what? Give me the upset. Give me Arizona to knock off BYU, give them their first loss of the season. This is where the schedule gets tough for the Cougars. On the back half, they have cruised mostly through the first part of it. But Arizona, I think they're a real football team, in spite of what happened in Ames. I think Arizona gets this done. 31-20. No, that's not right. That's not right. Defenses are too good. 24-23, nail biter in Tucson this week. I think BYU goes down. Bama at Missouri. This is going to be one of my best bets later. Because the more I thought about it, the more I realized, you know what? Alabama is good. That's it. They're good. I don't believe that they are great. I think they have a couple of great wins. They have one great win and one good win over Vanderbilt. I'm not casting dispersions at that whatsoever. Some of us had Vandy as a top 12 team going into that matchup last week. It's me. I had that. But I'm concerned about Alabama's run defense. I feel like they miss Caleb Downs. I don't think they found somebody on the back end that can play quite like him. There isn't really anybody that can. But when you see Alabama give up these long running plays, it's not a fluke. It's gone on long enough to where I just think that's part of who they are. They've given up 181 rushing yards per game in the last 2 matchups, and they've found a way to win. I think that comes to an end on Saturday in Columbia. If you haven't watched Amari Hardy run the football yet for this Missouri offense, you're about to. They are not going to come out and throw the ball 50 times a game. This is not an air raid system. I think Missouri has the ability to be incredibly balanced, but their ability to run the ball and create explosives is not a great matchup for Alabama. Remember last year, you know who got him in their bowl game? Michigan. What was Michigan? One-dimensional running the ball. Now, this is a big moment for Eli Drinkowitz in Missouri, who I have dogged on for the last couple of seasons. I've said their record is overinflated. They're not as good as they look. They're winning a bunch of games with a really easy SEC schedule. I think this is the moment that Missouri finds a breakthrough. They're an underdog, and you better believe it'll be one of my best bets later on. But I think Alabama goes down. I just don't trust that defense on the road. They did it at home last week. They forced turnover Diego Pavia. That basically proved to be the difference in the game. And then they ran for a touchdown late to cover. It still stinks. It still really stings because that's the difference between me having a winning week and not. But talk about the best bets later. I want to pivot to Michigan at USC. Talked about this game a lot yesterday. Had a couple more thoughts. If Bryce Underwood is able to just get the passing game... Here, let me rephrase. If Bryce Underwood's support system can just be average, Michigan could win this game by 10 or more points because of the way they run the ball, control the clock, and keep it away from the USC offense. I just don't have any faith that they can do that. I really don't. But if they could, I don't know, help the guy out a little. If I'm Sharon Moore, and we know he's prone to do this, I might come out and run the ball 45 times, 45, 50 times. Have one of those games like against Penn State a couple years ago when Sharon Moore was filling in for suspended Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines. I think that you could see a game where Bryce Underwood is throwing less than 15 passes. I won't be surprised one bit if Sharon Moore, who's not calling the plays, comes on the headset and says, hey, stop throwing the ball. Stop throwing the ball. Let's just run it. Let's see what that USC run defense can do. Statistically, they've been better. Here's your big test. Here's your big test, USC. You win this game, you're in my top 25. You probably fall out if you don't win this one at home. USC's 2.5-point favorite. I do think they get it done against Michigan. A couple games I haven't mentioned so far this week. Iowa State travels to Colorado. Huge game for the Cyclones. Huge game in the Big 12. They're not favored by a lot. In fact, let me just double check the line according to our friends over at FanDuel. It's Iowa State minus 2.5. That's another one of those games that I look at and go, that's weird. That's weird. That's strange. That's odd. Why is that number so small? Colorado's not a good team. They're winless in conference play so far. It's in Boulder, so that could be playing a factor here. Iowa State's got to go get this one. You lost the games to Cincinnati, who I've been impressed with so far this season. I've got them in my top 25. I don't think that Iowa State can make the Big 12 championship game if they lose this matchup. I think it's too early in the year. Anybody in the Big 12, with how much chaos is going to happen throughout the course of the season, nobody in the Big 12 here in mid-October can afford to have 2 losses and make their way to Arlington. That's just not going to happen. So you've got Iowa State playing urgently because they know that. You've also got them playing off of a loss last week in which their defense really struggled. Well, now you get Caden Salter and the Buffs, who kind of remind me offensively of what Brendan Sorsby and the Bearcats can do. You run a lot of stuff through your quarterback who can run a little bit but has got a good arm, and he's got some good receivers. We know this Colorado passing game can be good. Things don't feel very good in Boulder right now. They are trending downward. You lose this game, problems for Iowa State. Major problems. So with that urgency in mind, I think Iowa State will go into Boulder and find a way to win the football game. Give me the Cyclones 27-20. I think they beat Colorado. Another one that I haven't talked about, flying under the radar this week. Flying under the radar for one of the more overrated teams in the AP poll, top 25. To me, LSU. Do I think LSU should be ranked? Yes, they're inside my top 20. Their defense is elite. I like them a lot. Can they figure out the offense? They're a pretty sizable favorite against South Carolina, 9.5 points, according to FanDuel, of course. South Carolina, though, team that came into this season with a lot of hopes, a lot of aspirations, it's not going very well. It is just straight up not going very well. They got outplayed by Missouri on the road. They got housed by Vandy on their home field. This would be a real turning point, and it was around this time last year that South Carolina had that moment that they turned the corner and then they accelerated and almost got themselves into the college football playoff. It was right around this time of the year. Remember, they won, 6-ish games to end the season, go 9-3. They were 3-3 and then won their last 6 games of the regular season. Well, here they are at 2-2 with an opportunity to go on the road, get an SEC conference win, and LSU, boy, they need to figure it out on offense. They just need to figure out how to get Garrett Nussmeier going. I don't understand. I really don't. It doesn't make that much logical sense how much LSU is struggling. But you know what? Not everything makes sense in college football this year. Why is Penn State not as good as they should be? LSU's offense not any good. Clemson got right against North Carolina last week for whatever that is worth, because that's a disastrous situation. LSU at home, I don't think they're going to win this game big. And I'm not putting this as one of my best bets, hence why I'm talking about it here. I think the Tigers will win because I trust the defense being at home at Death Valley, but I bet you it's close. 23-20. I'll take them over South Carolina. 2017, actually. Low-scoring game. 2017, LSU's got to get that offense back on track.